Okay, PJ, I'm going to look at your swing in still shots, both from Grant's video and from what we took Sunday. On the left was your swing in the P2 position before Grant started adjusting your backswing, and on the right is when is afterwards. Uh, Obviously, a dramatic difference there. It's important to point out that the swing on the right was actually a little bit more, the club head was actually a little bit more in front of the hands than even Grant recommended, but he accepted that because of how far back it was to be before. These are shots from Sunday, and on the left is your swing in position P2 before we made the grid change and before I asked you to hinge your wrist. On the right is afterwards, where we did make a grid change and you were thinking the wrist hinge. On the left, you can see that your club was much further behind you. This is almost the same as it was when Grant saw you and then made the change later. And on the right, you made an improvement from that just by changing your grid and by thinking about your wrist hinge. It's important to point out that if you look at the bottom, I've drawn red lines off the toes. I did not set the camera the same on both swings, and so the difference between your club's position at the, is actually more dramatic than what it appears when you look at the angles of the feet and the shaft. So just by changing your grid and thinking about the wrist hinge does make a dramatic difference in how deep you take your club back. Here I have you side by side. On the left is your swing after Grant made some changes, and on the right is your swing after you changed your grid and started thinking wrist hinge. It appears that you're much further back on the right than you are on the left. Keep in mind that on the left, you were further, your club was further in front of your hands than Grant wants you to be, and certainly more than I want you to be. But if you look closely at the line I've drawn at the toes, you can see where the cameras are not set the same. And that if you took your picture on the right and you rotated it till the foot line matched the line on the left, you can see where your hands, that red line of the shaft, would start swinging more towards the camera and be much more in the direction that Grant and I want it to be. So as I look at this, I'm thinking that your two position on the right is almost perfect. That's when you changed your grid and you changed your swing thought in terms of your hands hinging. This is the before and after when you were with Grant. The swing on the right, you have the shaft line inside the golf ball, and ideally be at the ball, but being a little inside or a little outside is not problematic. So you just want to be somewhat close to the golf ball in the three positions. This is before and after on Sunday. On the left is before you made the grid change and the swing thought of hinging your wrist, and on the right is after you made the grid change and you were thinking about hinging your wrist. Much better shaft position. You're a little bit outside the golf ball in the three position here, but I do not see this as problematic. Here we are in the four position on Sunday. On the left is before the grid change, and on the right is after the grid change. A major difference in your left arm's position is going on the right, going right through your right shoulder, which is ideal. This is comparing the good swing when you were with Grant to the good swing when you were thinking about the grid on Sunday. Very similar positions here. Left arm is going right through the right shoulder, which is what Grant and I believe is the position you want to be in, is have that left arm passing right through that shoulder. There is one small difference between these two positions. The swing on the left arm is setting just slightly higher than your left arm is setting on the right. But it would be a mistake for you to do the same swing on the right and just try to get your left arm higher. There's another difference going on here. On the left, I've drawn the red line to represent the spine angle on the left, and the yellow line on the right is the spine angle on Sunday. You were tilted over much more when you were working with Grant than you are now. I have copied that yellow line and then moved it on top of the picture on the left to show the difference between the two spine angles. If you were to take that picture on the right and tilt that spine angle down to it match the spine angle on the left, that would automatically make your left arm go a little bit higher. Therefore, it would be matching that swing. So the arm's relationship to the shoulders is about the same. So the question now becomes, should you try to have that much tilt in your spine? Should you try to take the swing on the right and change it so that your spine angle matches the swing on the left? My vote is no. I think you actually are in a better position on the right than you are on the left. I believe on the left you might be tilting down too much. So I would stay away from trying to tinker with your spine angle at this time. What's important to understand is that each position of the golf swing has different value. It's much more valuable to have a perfect 4 position than it is to have a perfect 3 position. Having a perfect impact position is the #1 most important position. The ball responds to the laws of physics and motion that exist at the moment of impact. In order to have a good 7 position, you have to have a good 6 position. It's much more important to have a perfect 6 than a perfect 5. If you have a perfect 5 position but a lousy 6 position, then you're not going to have a good 7 position. If you have a perfect 6 position, it almost doesn't matter what your 5 position was. The 6 was more important. That general truth and principle applies to every position in the golf swing, which means it's better to have a 4 position, a good 4 position, than it is a 3 position. So you do not want to be overcritical or start tinkering with your 2 position and your 3 position because they're not some perfect model when you have a good 4 position. The only reason to tinker with a 2 position or a 3 position is to achieve a good 4 position. But once you have the good 4 position, you have to stop tinkering with 2 and 3. So the bottom line is this: I believe that you're on the right track. I think you need to continue to work on your new grid where you are setting up to the starting line and that you're setting your club face square to the target line, so it's now set at 0 to the target line. This will allow you to have a draw with only having to have a +3 path to that setup. When you set up your grid to the target line and not the starting line, you have to have a +6 path, and much more difficult for you to achieve consistently. I think the 3-degree adjustment in your grid is going to make a huge difference in your ability to be consistent. When you have to have a +6 path, you end up having blocks, pushes, hooks, all kinds of things going on that you can't control consistently. When you set the face square to your feet, square to the starting line, then you have a much more manageable swing path.